Good day, everyone. So, today we are going to learn about the 14 learner centered psychological principle by American Psychological Association. So, what is learner centered principles? So, the LCP or the learner centered principles were put together by the American Psychological Association. The following 14 psychological principles pertain to the learner and the learning process. So the learner-centered principles is for teachers and students. It teaches the teachers about about how the learners learn so that teachers can teach effectively. And the 14 principles are divided into those referring to cognitive and metacognitive, motivational and effective, developmental and social, and individual difference factors. So let's proceed to the cognitive and metacognitive factor. So first principle is the nature of learning process. So the learning of complex subject matter is most effective when it is an international process of constructing meaning from information and experience. So, in psychology, a construct is a skill, attribute, or ability that is based on one or more established theories. So, it means that we teachers must teach the students to use this skill, attribute, or ability in learning complex subject matter, for this is the most effective way to learn. Next is the second principle, goals of the learning process. So, the successful learner over time and with support and instructional guidance can create meaningful, coherent representation of knowledge. So it means that the goal of the learning process is to make the learners express their thoughts in a clear and calm way so that other people can understand what they are saying. Next is the third principle, the construction of knowledge. The successful learner can link new information with existing knowledge in meaningful ways. So knowledge widens and deepens as students continue to build links between new information and experience and their existing knowledge base. So the fourth principle is the strategic thinking. So the successful learner can create and use repertoire or of thinking and reasoning strategies to achieve complex learning goals. Successful learners use in their approach to learning, reasoning, problem solving, and concept learning. So it means that when the learner defends the subject matter well, so um, the learner understands it well. So let's proceed to the next principle, the fifth principle, thinking about thinking. So successful learners can reflect on how they think and learn, set reasonable learning or performances goals, select potentially appropriate learning strategies or methods, and monitor their progress towards these goals. So it means that the learner must be aware of themselves, so they would know where they lack and where they are abundant. So let's proceed to the sixth principle, the context of learning. So learning is influenced by environmental factors, including culture, technology, and instructional practices. So we teachers must be sensitive of the learners' cultures. We must accept and respect what they believe. Then, about the technology, we teachers must make use the technology in teaching. We can use it to search or to teach. Then, lastly, is the instructional practices. So, it just simply means that the quality of a teacher really matters in students' learning process. Next is the motivational and affective factor. The seventh principle is the motivational and emotional influences on learning. So, the rich internal world of thoughts, beliefs, goals, and expectation for success or failure can enhance or interfere with the learner's quality of thinking and information processing. So motivation is like a fuel for the learners. So to keep them going, we teachers must sustain the fuel. And about the emotional influences, it simply means that teacher must keep the students' excitement by keeping the class interactive and not boring. Next is the eighth principle, intrinsic motivation to learn. Intrinsic motivation is stimulated by tasks of optimal novelty and difficulty, relevant to personal interests and providing for personal choice and control. So it means we must teach regarding with their personal interest to make them interested and curious. This could make them motivated to learn but not forced. Next is the ninth principle, effects of motivation on effort. So effort is another major indicator of motivation to learn. The acquisition of complex knowledge and skills demands the investment of considerable learner energy and strategic effort, along with persistence over time. So it means that motivation makes the learner exert more effort on learning. Next is the developmental and social factor. The 10th principle is the developmental influences on learning. So learning is most effective when differential development within and across physical and intellectual, emotional, and social domains is taken into account. So individuals learn best when material is appropriate to their developmental level and is presented in an enjoyable and interesting way. So let's proceed to the 11th principle, the social influences on learning. So learning can be enhanced when the learner has an opportunity to interact and to collaborate with others on instructional tasks. So group activities really helps learners to learn because socializing is a way to look on another point of view. Then let's proceed to that individual differences factor. The 12 the 12th principle is the individual differences in learning. So individuals are born and develop their own capabilities and talents. Educators need to help students examine their learning preferences and expand or modify them if necessary. So the teachers must acknowledge the individual differences of the learners. Learners are unique to each other. Others could be good in listening but bad on reading. Next is the learning and diversity. So the same basic principles of learning motivation and effective instruction apply to a learner. So as a teacher, we must be aware and respectful of the learner's differences in linguistic, cultural, and social backgrounds. For it is easy to learn when it's comfortable. So let's proceed to the 14th principle, the standards in assessment. So assessment provide important information to both the learner and teacher at all stages of the learning process. So standards in assessment are integral part of the learning process. It helps the learner to know how much effort they need, and also it helps the students to track their learning process. So that is all for today. And thank you.